Hello, my name is Mark Black. In this video, we're going to look at troubleshooting the installation of IBM Spectrum LSF Suite 10.2. So this is part of a series of videos. So there's multiple topics that you can look at, and hopefully you'll find those interesting. Okay, so I'm going to run through different scenarios and try and describe what to do when these things happen. So one of the things that you have is Ansible. So when you set up that deployer machine, when you ran that bin file, for example, you actually got Ansible installed on that deployer machine. And you can use this as a tool to query your environment to see, what do you have. So for example, I can use like a command like this, where I'm running Ansible. Normally we run the Ansible playbook. Here we're just trying to call Ansible, and we're telling it to use, or well, to run the command on all of the machines in the LSF inventory file, and that command being, cat etc Red Hat release. So, you run something like that, and it will show you the version of Red Hat or CentOS or Scientific Linux that you're running on your machines. Other examples here, I'm running the Ansible command again, but here I'm only going to run on the group of servers defined in the LSF servers role from the LSF inventory file. And again, here I'm running a command, and I'm grepping for LSF admin and etc password. So I'm just checking to see, does the LSF admin user exist on all of the machines, and what is the UID and GID. Another example. Here I'm running again on the LSF servers, the command rpm-qa, and grepping for LSF. Oh, there's a typo there. Okay, so I want like rpm-qa, but I want to, well, I need to fix the quoting there. Anyway, so you could run commands like this to, query your environment. So it's kind of like xdsh or pdsh, so those parallel set shells. So essentially using Ansible to do something like that as well. Anyway, so that's some handy tricks that you can do with Ansible. Okay, so I'm going to run through different scenarios. So here's the first one that you'll maybe see. Say, for example, you have created your inventory file, and perhaps some of the machines were actually offline, right? So they weren't running at the time that you ran your playbook. You'll get an error, something like this. It'll be a fatal error, and I'll say, it's unreachable. That just means, hey, the machine wasn't running right. I couldn't connect to it. Perhaps it was rebooting. Maybe it was down at the time. And in the summary, you'll see something like this where it says the the host name and unreachable equals 1. That's okay, right? These are this is an Ansible playbook. You can just rerun the command again, and as long as these machines are up and running, then okay, it'll pick it up and do what it needs to do on those machines. So that's perfectly easy to recover from. So another one you may see is if you have multi-homed hosts. So what I mean by that is a machine that has more than one NIC. You can get issues around like hostname resolution, and these are pretty easy to correct as well. What you'll see something like this. Maybe you'll see like on one of the boxes, it failed, right? If you look at your message, your log, so you have a file called ansible.log where you're in the playbook directory, you may see something like this, right? So name or service not known. So basically it couldn't resolve something, right? And you can see here it's actually trying to access the LSF suite packages. So it was trying to access the RPM repository that we created on the deployer node. So it wasn't able to resolve who was the deployer, right? So this is pretty easy to resolve. There are a couple of ways you can do it. One, you could of course fix your hostname resolution. That's one way. Another thing that you can do is edit this file here. So the opt IBM LSF installer playbook group vars all direct file. In there you'll find the deployer hostname. And what you can do there is either correct that to a name that is resolvable across all machines, or say maybe use the IP address instead. Once you've done that, just run the redeployment or rerun the deployment, and everything should be fine. Okay, next one. So this is an interesting error. You may see this one. Well, you'll see an error that says unfinished transactions remaining. Sounds kind of strange. What this is say you're running the deploy playbook and for some reason you interrupted it, right? So it was partially through the process of installing an RPM and it stopped, right? So you've interrupted that process. So what this means is the RPM installation transaction isn't complete, right? So you have to go and clean it up. So the way you do that is by running this command here. So yum complete transaction. So you have to go to each of the machines where you saw this message and run that yum complete transaction. And then restart the deploy playbook, and that'll correct the problem for you. Another one you may see is this is a more unusual one. It's pretty rare as well. You'll see an error it can't stat this file here, opt IBM LSF suite ext perf conf data source.xml.empty. So this is a template file. You may find that if you do some investigation that the file actually does exist, so it's kind of a strange message, right? Seems to be some kind of race condition. At this point in time, we're not sure what the trigger is, but it does cause the RPMs to fail. The solution to this one is actually very, very simple. You just rerun the deploy playbook and, chances are that the problem has just disappeared. It's pretty rare as well. Another one you may see is this one here. It'll say, start Elasticsearch, that task will fail. Why does this happen? Well, say for example you've done an install already and maybe you've changed the environment or changed the inventory file and you've run the deploy again. That's kind of the trigger for this one. What you can do, there's several ways. You can of course do an uninstall, basically wipe the environment out and redeploy. That's one way. Or what you can do is, check this status of the service, right, using the system control status Elasticsearch for LSF. And if it's running, just run the deploy again. If it's not running, what you can do is remove it, right? So here's the steps to remove it, right? So you stop the service first and then disable it and remove the symbolic link and then reload the system control daemon. And then once you've done that, run the deploy again and the error should go away. Okay, so this is an interesting problem that you may or may not see. It depends on your environment. What can happen is if you had an existing LSF admin user, you may run into the problem where it's different across machines, right? So you'll run into this error here where it says it can't access a particular file, the LSB stream file. And what you can do there is just fix your password entries for the LSF admin user on the affected machines and run your deploy playbook and the problem will go away. Okay, one last thing. So we do run Elasticsearch on the GUI hosts. So I just wanted to show you this command here that you can use just to see how much space the various indices are using. So it's a very handy command. So on the GUI host, just run this curl, -xcat, the name of your GUI host. The port number is 9200, and then cat indices. And it'll give you a list something like this. So you can see the size of the various indices and see how much space they're using. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you find this video useful.